Welcome back.
Ditto.
So in the last video we did it's an introduction to metaphysics, and we did part 3, false humility.
I actually like this one.
Yeah, me too. It's so this is the second part of false humility, part 2. So introduction to metaphysics, part 3, but it's the 4th part. If you can figure that out, you can figure anything out. So we're talking of time and evolution as you think of it. Emerging consciousness had come to a point where it delighted so in distinctions and differences that even in small geographical areas, multitudinous groups, cults and nationalities were assembled, each proudly asserting its own individuality and worth over the others. In the beginning, although there was not any beginning, in those terms, man's emerging consciousness needed the freedom to disperse itself, to become different, to originate basis for various characteristics and assert individualizations.
You know why it's a good job there wasn't a beginning? Because if there was a beginning, there'd be an end.
Well, then that, I mean, it'd be all over, and all it is wouldn't be so-called creative anymore.
No.
So the theory of the Big Bang Theory is just a Pollyanna hogwash.
And their theory is, of course, a guess.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
By Christ's time, however, some principle of unity was necessary by which this diversification would also experience a sense of unity and feel its oneness.
Oneness.
I like oneness. Christ was the symbol of man's emerging consciousness, holding within himself the knowledge of man's potential. His message was meant to be carried beyond the times, but this interpretation is often not made. Christ uses parables that were applicable then, as described in all 4 of the Gospels. And you know what they're called, don't you? Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. He used priests as symbols of authority. And you know what authority is? Somebody who wants you to believe everything that they say or that's in the book. And you can find that. He uses priests as symbolity of authority. That's in Matthew 21, 23 to 27, if anybody wants to look that up. He turned water into wine. You can find that in John in 2, 1 to 11.
Actually, I do like that trick. I think you should come back and do that a bit more.
Delicious. Well, it was alchemy, wasn't it? That comes from ancient Egypt. Alchemist, the chemist. You know, it's magic, alchemy.
Back to Egypt again.
It's not Blackland. Yet many who consider themselves quite holy ignore Christ at the wedding feast and think any alcoholic beverage degrading. The word alcohol is Arabic, the same as petroleum benzene, ultimately Arabic. Do you realise that when you speak English you're actually using Arabic as well?
Yeah.
There's certain Arabic influences in the language. Alcohol and chemist, alchemist, alchemy, it's from there. He consorted with prostitutes. If you don't believe me, look up Luke 7:33 to 50, it's all in there. And the poor and his disciples were hardly men that would be called city fathers. Yet many who consider themselves religious people hold on to respectability most of all. Do you ever notice in Islam that alcohol is frowned upon? It's said not to drink it because it pollutes the mind. Right. So, who am I? Where do you live, son? I don't know. Where's your key? What's your name? You can't remember anything, do you? It's polluted the memory, not the mind. Right. The memory, well, you understand, it's non-physical, it's metaphysical. So it's confusing. You can't contact it. That's why it's like a poison, but it's kind of nice. Christ used the vernacular of the times and in his own way spoke out against dogmatic ideas as well as temples that pretended to be repositories of holy knowledge, trying to control your mind, body and spirit, but were instead concerned with money and prestige.
That tells you what's going on, doesn't it?
What's the richest organisation in the world? The Church.
The Vatican, yes.
Oh, yeah, if you want to find out where you can find that, it's in Mark 11:15 to 18. Yet many who consider themselves followers of Christ now turn against the outcasts that he himself considered brothers and sisters. He affirmed the reality of the individual over any organisation while still realising that some system was necessary. His whole message was that the exterior world is the manifestation of the interior one, that the kingdom of God is made flesh. Excuse me. There are indeed lost gospels. Oh. written by men in other countries in that time, relating to Christ's unknown life.
Oh, those 30 years where he disappeared?
Yes. 2 episodes not given to the Bible. These formed a quite separate framework of knowledge that could be accepted by people who had different beliefs than the Jewish people at that time. The messages were given in other terms, but again they reflected the affirmation of the self and its continued existence after physical death. Love was always stressed. One of the Gospels is counterfeit.
I have heard that.
Yeah? That is, it was written after the others, and the events twisted to make it appear that some of them happened in a completely different context than they did.
Yes, Rebellious Thorn says similar things, and also that there's at least one book missing.
Regardless, Christ's message was one of affirmation. Okay?
Affirmation, back to law of attraction.
Which gospel is counterfeit? Because we're going to get letters about that.
Oh yeah.
Or emails.
Oh yes.
Well, we're going to end now. We're going to talk about some other metaphysical aspect in another video. But I assure you, it was not Mark or John's.
I take it that you mean it wasn't Matthew, Mark, Luke or John. It wasn't Mark or John.
It wasn't Mark or John's that was counterfeit. There are particular reasons why I do not want to specify now, okay? That's it for now, kids. We love you very, very much.
Yes.
So that's part 4, I think, isn't it?
Well, I'll see. Yes, remember, love heals all, and love is what is going to
Conquer all.
change this planet back to what it was supposed to be in the first place, which was a planet of love.
Let's all come back together. Let's all unite in unity of one, all there is, all it ever was, and all there ever can be.
A negative other cells, that is the one thing they desperately, desperately want to stop, is uniting, realising that we are all connected.
You see, we're both positive. I'm not his negative of the self, and he's not my negative of the self. We only come with love, compassion. Those that don't come with love and compassion, or false humility. You understand?
I don't stand under anything.
Fairy snuff. That's all for now. Love you, everyone. Be nice to each other. Be nice to each other.
Be nice to your brothers and sisters.
And your neighbours.
Yes. For they are your brothers and sisters.
My neighbours have just been kicked out.
Love.
I hope you find somewhere else. Love to all.